Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Were you doing that on purpose or did that just
Yeah, I
happen?
was being like, hello.
Mm. Okay. I'm good. I'm good. I'm currently, shoving food in my mouth because I always am. But yeah,
Yeah, when
I
you're pregnant, that's what you want to do. Except now I'm at a point where like I don't want to eat because I feel full regardless of what I put in my mouth and how much I put in my mouth.
well, I'm at the stage where I want to eat everything all the time.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Eat, 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 eat. And Austin makes fun of me because we'll eat dinner. And we were just telling his dad this yesterday. But we ate dinner last night, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a bowl of cereal now. And he's like, what? I'm like, literally, like, I just finished dinner and I feel starving, so I'm gonna eat
Mhm.
some more.
Oh yeah. Yep, I felt that way. I would do the same thing. We would eat dinner and then maybe like an hour or two later I'm like, I'm going to eat some cereal and
Mhm.
watch TV.
Yeah. Yeah, I went grocery shopping, and we like, it was supposed to be like, get these 5 things and go home,
Mhm.
and we got, like, 100 and something dollars worth of
Of
things,
course. Yeah.
and then I wanted McDonald's french fries on the way home, and Austin said, "No, we're gonna go home and make dinner," and I was like, "Okay, but that would hold me over until we ate dinner." And then we stopped at Dairy Queen because we didn't get what we wanted to at Kroger. That was, like, ice cream wise for the
Mhm.
baby that I want to eat. And so the only thing that Dairy Queen had, because I wanted ice cream, but I didn't want to eat it like right then and there in the car because I wanted to eat
Yeah.
dinner first. I got an ice cream cake. I literally walk out to the car with the ice cream cake. It's like a huge 8-inch cake too, because that's the
That's
smallest size they
amazing.
had.
I love that so much.
So yeah, so he's like over my eating right now.
I
Mhm. Mhm.
love it.
But I was eating a lot more cereal with Axel than I am with this
Really?
baby. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty much about the same. I think I'm just eating a lot more, like I crave a lot more sugar with
Me
this
too.
baby
Yeah,
than
like
I
all
did
I
with.
want to eat is sweets and
Yeah.
french fries. With Axel, I just want to eat veggies.
Yeah. Yeah. Eleanor, I was just fruit. Fruit was like, I wanted fruit all the time.
Yeah. So that's going on. And then I also um, went yesterday evening to that elective ultrasound place that I think I went
Oh,
with
yeah.
Axel. I think I
Hmm.
told you
Yep.
that. Anyway, I wanted to get a closer picture. Excuse me. Not that I've not had enough pictures, but I just wanted to see his face more, and like with a
Yeah.
closed mouth, because every single time his mouth is open. And I got like one. I mean, I can show you, but
Do you think he still looks different than Axel?
I feel like he looks more like Axel now.
You do? Yeah.
And he wasn't folded in half anymore.
Oh.
So I'm very happy about that because they were like, "Oh yeah, if they stay folded in half, then you could do like an um, C-section or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
You're
Mm-mm.
like, uh.
You
Yeah,
get out
just
of
look
that
up ways to get him to move. Yeah, he does look like Axel.
with the mouth closed." Yeah,
Mhm.
but the ultrasound tech, she works at like a hospital too, so she won't give you any
Like
medical
medical. Yeah.
advice or whatever or anything, but she was able to measure like how big he would be, and he was 1 pound 1 ounce,
Okay.
and like whatever he was doing, like the practicing breathing, the drinking, he was like very active, very doing all these
Mhm.
things. um and so she's like, it's good that he's already doing that because they expect to see that they're doing that between now and like the third trimester, and it's
Mhm.
like means that he's thriving in there, like
Yeah.
that he's already doing it. I was like,
So
okay.
weight-wise, is he still? Cuz I mean, I'm not saying he's bigger cuz he was still like what, 50% or whatever, but is he still in that range?
She didn't tell me like a percentile,
Percentile. Okay.
but the last ultrasound we had, he was 50 percentile. So
Yeah. Okay.
to me, yeah, like bigger than Axel, right?
Then Axel, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm just dealing with my tailbone. So I think I talked about it on a previous podcast, maybe in my birth story, but
I think so, yeah.
broke my tailbone during birth and like did pelvic floor therapy. and so it was a lot better after the pelvic floor therapy, but now and it was more like she focused on the tailbone because that was
Mhm.
causing issues in the pelvic floor. But now I was going to go to do pelvic floor therapy like while I'm pregnant. I don't
Mhm.
really know if I'm going to do that yet. I haven't done my research fully because I want to save that for afterwards too. But it's just like it like goes like if I lay flat on my back, and I don't know, maybe other people have this problem, but I think just being pregnant, I lay flat on my back and like all of a sudden it just like tightens up, like I can't move.
Like your lower back?
Yeah, like my lower back, my
Mhm.
butt, my
Yeah.
legs, like I just get so
I think
stiff.
that's are you sure it's not, sciatica? Because your sciatica nerve is what is, like if you have issues with your sciatica, you'll feel it down your legs, and it'll cause issues with, like, movement, and that's where I have my issues during pregnancy is my sciatica.
But I don't have it. I guess I should rephrase that. I don't have it in my lower back shooting down
Okay.
to my legs. It's more like lower back right where your tailbone is.
Yeah.
Is that what you have? I don't
Yeah, it
like
hurts,
it
like,
just
kinda where
stiffens
my
up.
tailbone is.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just stiffens up and it
It's, like,
doesn't.
right kind of like where my butt crack starts, like, right there will
Yeah.
hurt really bad, but mine will kind of shoot down my butt and my legs sometimes, and, like, walking with one leg or another can really affect it.
Yeah, mine just gets really stiff. Like I
Mhm.
can't like sit up. I have to have someone push me over. So
It's
maybe it
probably
is
a little bit of both. I mean, it could be a
both.
little bit of both, yeah, I mean, if you broke your tailbone, you're probably gonna have some feeling or, like, residual pain from that, being pregnant again, but I think the sciatica is also very common.
Yeah. And with the pressure in the pelvic floor pushing on the tailbone with the
Mhm,
sciatica, I think it's just all in all. But yeah, it's just annoying when because I can't lay on my back very
mhm.
well, so I have like a pillow under me. But if I lay on my sides, my arms fall asleep every single night. Like I'll lay on this
Yeah.
side and it falls asleep. Then it's like back and forth, and both my arms are falling asleep all night long.
I know I'm, like, switching all night too, but my hips, like, fall asleep, not my
Oh really?
arms.
Oh, I
Yeah, my,
haven't had
like,
that.
hips. I wouldn't even say fall asleep necessarily, but either they can fall asleep so they're, like, numb, or they start to just hurt really bad and I have to switch sides.
Mm,
But that only happens when I'm pregnant, and I've been finding so I've been using my pregnancy pillow to put between my legs because it helps with that hip pain. But yesterday, it's must have got dislodged and my hand was between my legs and I woke up and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna lose my hand." I don't know how long it's been there, but it's numb, and then it started tingling and I was like dying.
yeah, literally, that's my. I wake up to it being numb and tingling like that. So I
Mhm.
have to move it every like at least one arm or each
Did you
arm once a night.
with Axel, did you have, like, back pain at all? Or, like I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know if it's my pelvis, but it's, like, in my vagina, like, my vagina really hurts.
Like stinging or like burning or just like
No, it, like,
physical?
feels like the bone. Like, it's hard to explain. It just feels like I'm breaking open.
Oh. I mean I had lower back pain, but like more it was just like, like I'm like in pain from working out or I'm in pain from having all this
Yeah,
extra weight on me.
right.
I didn't have like I don't know, it didn't feel like that the way you're describing.
Yeah, because 'cause I'm getting that again, like, that pelvic pain. Maybe it's my pelvic floor. I don't know. It just, like, hurts in my vagina. It feels like it's my bone in my vagina, and
Mm.
after if I'm, like, walking a lot that day or moving a lot that day or doing, like, super active or even squatting a lot, like, by the end of the day, sometimes feel like I can't even walk because it's like, oh, it hurts so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It is just like the things that your body goes through in pregnancy. And then like half the time like I don't even know how I'm lifting my toddler right now, but I am.
I know, same. I'm like I know we talked about it because you said you, like, don't carry Axel to bed anymore, but we typically do. Like, I usually carry her and put her down and, like, just carrying her, which we have a tri-level, right? So I'm going up 2 sets of stairs, but, like, carrying her from the bottom level all the way up and then, like, laying her down, I'm like, like,
Yeah.
dying. I'm like to Rob, I'm like, "I might have to stop doing this soon."
Yeah, I literally like will bring him in the room and then like Literally, I tried to put him in the crib last night, and I'm, like, leaning over the crib, and I just, like, dropped him, and he rolled over, and I was like, "Okay, well, you're gonna have to readjust him."
Oh
Mm.
man, but talking about like being pregnant in labor, like I've been doing a lot of research and I have talked about a little bit about this and I've talked to you about it, but I really want to aim for a natural labor. I don't want an epidural this time. No, I'm not making the call 100% either way, but my goal is to essentially go in with the mindset that I don't want to get one. Now, if for some reason something happens or I'm just in like so much pain I can't even like concentrate and I think that would help, I would consider it. But like I essentially want to go into it
Mhm.
naturally. And you sent me a TikTok, I think, that really like kicked off a bunch of research in this because I didn't even really think about it to like things you could use during labor when you're not getting an epidural. So they had that thing like the comb in her hand and that TENS machine. So I looked up a bunch of that stuff. So I've been like, figuring out, and I also want to bring it to my OBGYN and just see
Is this the
like
one I
if they,
recently sent you?
yeah, you
Or I
sent it to
saw
me.
another one that I sent to Austin, and I don't know if I sent it to you.
Yeah, you sent it. The one that I watched, was it Saturday night? Yeah, Saturday night before bed. And it was like super helpful. So I was like going through that. And I have wellness money at my job. So I was like, oh, I'm going to spend some of my wellness money on this stuff because like the ball, I never had the ball, like the birthing ball, yoga ball.
You didn't
And I'm
get
going to
one in
have
the hospital?
in the hospital, yeah, but I didn't have one at home. So I'm going to
Yeah,
have
I
one at
didn't have one
home.
at home
Yeah,
either.
start.
Yeah.
I'm just in my third trimester and they say like starting doing like hip rotations and kind of doing like the cat and dog with the whatever. So I'm going to start doing that stuff like now. So I've
Yeah.
been like super researching that and like what a labor can entail without an epidural and how to get through it because I think the breathing techniques are huge and I'm just not really good at like the meditation like zen breathing, so I really have to start working on it now. So that's kind of like my, and what I wanted to ask you is that like do you think you'll get an epidural? Have you thought about it next time? Do you think you'll do it again?
So after going through it, I was like, yeah, I'll get that epidural again, like,
Mhm.
but I feel like I didn't. I don't know, because I just started seeing all these videos too, and I was like sharing them to you, and then you were like, "Oh, I don't want to get an epidural unless I like really feel like I need to, whatever."
Mhm.
And that was my original feeling with Axel, but the birth didn't go the way that I wanted it to.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, and there was this one video. I don't know if I sent you this. I gotta find out which ones I sent you
Okay.
because there was this one that I saw, and the girl was talking about transition, and like I've always heard transition and like the different stages of labor, but
Yeah.
like I didn't get like the point of where transition kicks in, and like I'm feeling, thinking back to my labor, the point in which I wanted the epidural was when I was in that transition stage, because
Mhm.
I was at like a 6 and it was really intense, and then after that I started getting to the shivers, and that's like when the baby was coming out.
Yeah.
Again, it was a little bit more dragged out because I feel like I laid in that bed the whole time, like I
Oh, that's,
didn't get out,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't move.
Mhm.
And so I feel like moving is going to change it. So yeah, I guess I'm like, I feel like mentally I was still like, okay, I got to get through the anatomy scan. Okay, well now it's been like 3
Mhm.
weeks. And I'm like, okay, things are moving now. Now I need
Yeah.
to start like researching. I feel like I will get that epidural if I'm in that much pain and I don't feel like I can
Mhm.
do it. But I did see, I had the comb last time with me and that really helped. I had the ball, but I only used the ball when I was trying to get my cervix to open up, and that
Mm.
didn't, I mean, okay, yeah, that helped, but that was the first time I ever been on the ball.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, other than that, I sat in that dang bed.
Mhm.
So I think that's gonna be one of my biggest changes is not sitting in bed.
Yeah, that's gonna be mine too, and that's one thing I don't like. I don't want an epidural for because I want to be able to like keep moving. I want to be able to have movement, and I don't necessarily want to give birth on my back. And be there's so many different ways you can give birth, and as I need to talk to my provider to make sure that's allowed there, but I don't necessarily want that to be my only option, and so I'm just trying to like yeah, expand, but we'll see how it goes. I think you make a birth plan and you try to figure out what you want, and you tell people around you so they can advocate for you and be there for you to kind of get you through like the tough parts and the contractions and that kind of thing. But if it needs to change, it'll change. But this is like what I'm ultimately hoping for.
Yeah, I guess I feel like I didn't really understand the different stages and
Yeah,
like where
same.
you were at and how you felt, and I feel like that's going through it and then now looking back you're like, "Oh, okay, that's
Hmm.
what was going on."
And I think that epidural is always talked about as in like you're not I think how people phrased it to me is like, "You're not a hero because you don't use an epidural, like, why not just use it?" And so I always went in with that mindset, but, like, for me and the way my birth went is I got the epidural right before they broke my water because they said that could be painful, and I never progressed, and the epidural can, for some women, like, hinder your progression in labor, and so I don't know if my body just reacted negatively to the epidural. I mean, there's probably a lot of different factors. So I'm just trying to like remove some of these like medical interventions to get my body to do like what it's supposed to do naturally. So that's like another, I mean, you had an epidural, you birth naturally, so it can work for you. I'm just trying to figure out what works for me because now I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like you still feel the pressure and it still
Yeah.
hurts, but
Yeah.
I can see how it just takes like a little bit of edge off at that point.
Yeah.
But I feel like too, like if you do get it too early, like you're not. I mean, my water breaking didn't hurt at all. I don't understand why they would say that, but again,
Yeah, I
every
don't know.
situation is different. So yeah, it's
I
just
don't know.
interesting.
Yeah, it
It's
is very
interesting.
interesting.
And like I sent you that one with the shower, like being in the shower.
Yeah.
That one
Yeah, I
was
want a tub. I'm gonna request a tub
hmm
if they have one. They asked me if I wanted one last time. I was like, "What? No." Like, all these things I didn't
like
know
I'm not
about.
getting in a tub.
Yeah, I'm like, "Well, I wouldn't do that."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, maybe we can go through our birth plans at some point since I think we're going to be a little bit more intentional about it. So maybe once we get there, we can talk about it. Um, but a few more things. I'm pretty much done with Christmas shopping. I think we have two nephews, and then Rob and I have like each other, but we're done with Christmas shopping and also Eleanor's birthday gift. So we're like good to go there. So I feel really good about it. I just wrapped everything last week. And now I started thinking about her birthday party because I wanted to get that on people's calendars. So we're doing it like January 12th ish to celebrate. I think it's earlier enough in the month where we're not gonna impede on like Isley, but also not late enough in the month where I may go into labor, which it could happen, but I'm hopefully trying to prevent that. But we're gonna do Mickey theme, and it's just gonna be immediate family, like so, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpas, that kind of thing. But I'm feeling a little accomplished. I'm like knocking these things off my list.
There you go. I literally just wrote on my to-do list today like I need to make a plan for my Black Friday shopping.
Hmm.
Um because I'm like basically buying Christmas and all of the baby stuff I need at that
Yeah.
point in time.
Hmm.
So I've been holding off. I haven't bought that much. We did buy a $12 dinosaur toy that we couldn't leave the store
Ooh.
without. So that's the first of my Christmas gifts over here.
Ooh.
Um
So you started.
yeah, but I researched a lot.
Me too.
I guess not researched a lot, but I was trying to find toys that were like um what do you call it? Like can grow with him.
Yeah.
And like we have so many of the little blocks and there's like 15 million pieces and like magnetiles and 15 million pieces. So I was targeting more of like the basketball net, the little roller coaster
Yeah.
thing, like things like
Hmm.
that. And I think, yeah,
Yeah,
I
those are
think
on
that'll
my
be good.
list too. Those are on my list. I haven't those aren't things that I bought for her, but I put like the basketball net, like the baseball, the soccer, the golf, so all those like outside stuff. I have the roller
hmm
coaster on there and then like the little house like you guys had found. But I wanted to focus on we did buy magnet tiles, like we don't have magnet tiles.
Mm.
Um
I bought
I
the
got
off brand because they're
Yeah,
the
me too.
same as the magnetite. Okay.
Yeah, they're expensive. But I did a lot of like I tried to research things that could grow, but also good for their development. and like building and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And we have our Tony box, so I got her a ton of Tonys, and I bought those like beginning of the year ish. So I've had them forever
Oh
because
my
they were on
gosh.
sale.
Yeah, I have the Tony box on ours because we don't have one.
I mean, we're like
So,
obsessed. That thing is used every single day, every single day.
yeah, I feel like now he's really getting into like I guess like music story things because like he'll ask for Miss Rachel, which is Chuchi. Don't know why
Chi-chi.
we call her Chuchi, but like in the car, like on the way here to work today or to daycare today, he wanted Miss Rachel, and I'm like, okay, fine, like
Hmm.
whatever. But yeah, so like I feel like he's just now
Yeah.
like into that.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting because the Tony box says 3 plus, but we got it for her first birthday, and she's used it like ever since. 3 plus is just great. Like so many toys are 3 plus.
Yeah,
Stupid.
yeah. When you can use them earlier,
Uh
so
huh.
yeah.
Okay, well, let's hop into our episode. Welcome to the Mom Era podcast. My name is Megan.
And I'm Alyssa.
Today, we're talking about the powerful impact of still face. So, have you ever noticed the way your baby's face just lights up when you respond to their coos, smiles, or when your toddler is trying to talk to you and you engage with them and they're glancing at you and you're responding? So, you're giving that engagement. So, that reaction isn't just cute, it's not just adorable, it's really essential for their development. Like, they need us to provide that input for them. It's like super imperative for growth.
Yeah. In this episode, we're going to explore why the still face effect matters and what happens when a child doesn't receive consistent responses from their caregivers and what it means for parents and caregivers in our fast-paced, often distracted world.
Yeah, I think this one's super relevant because of phones specifically. I mean, so much other input like TVs and things like that, but I feel like phones is what at least affects like our family the most that we have to be very conscious about.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Phones are biggest for us because we're not really watching TV all the time. So
Yeah, we aren't either.
we're mostly on our phones, or I guess if I'm on the laptop doing bills or something. But yeah,
Yeah, or like working. Yeah, our
yeah,
TV doesn't come on unless it's like we're putting it on specifically for Eleanor or unless she's in bed. So we don't like put TV on in the background. We haven't since she was left like newborn infant stage. When they're
hmm
that young, they don't know. It's kind
yeah,
of
they
nice.
don't even know what's going on. So,
But let's maybe go through what the still face phenomenon. So Dr. Tronick, he's a developmental psychologist and researcher. He conducted some groundbreaking research and work on infant social emotional development, and he did this in the 1970s, so it's been around for a long time. He did a still face experiment, and it became a milestone in really understanding how essential that parental responsiveness is for young children. So, in this experiment, a mother or primary caregiver sits facing their baby and initially reacts normally how they would typically with warmth. They were smiling, they were responding to the baby's cues. And then, after a short while, the caregiver was then instructed to just keep a neutral, expressionless face and avoid any reaction to that child's attempt to engage. And what this study found was that initially the child was confused and they kept attempting to re engage by acting in a way that they knew previously elicited the response they wanted. So, smiling, reaching out, talking. And then if that failed, the baby escalated or may escalate their efforts by showing signs of distress. So crying, reaching out more insistently. And then after that continued lack of response, the baby eventually just like withdrew. So they looked away, they appeared defeated, signaling really a sense of disconnection and like emotional exhaustion, which is just so, it's like so sad. I can't imagine putting my baby through this experiment.
yeah,
It's good to have this research, but I'm like, dang.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's like scary that I don't know, like just listening to that, I was just like, okay, wait, like the poor baby's confused.
I
Um,
know.
but babies heavily rely on the facial expressions, tone of voice, gestures to feel secure, develop social skills, and learn about the world. I think that was something that we covered in like one of the screen time episodes we had
Mhm.
because we were talking about how like the interaction with the person is very different than the interaction with the TV or the
Yeah.
reaction the child would give. Children need continuous emotional feedback to build a sense of trust and security. And I think this is a hard one too, because sometimes if you are looking at your phone and you do notice the child trying to engage, it's literally so hard to like, okay, wait, stop what I'm doing and then engage
Mhm.
with the child. But parental phone use in front of babies can have the consequences of still faces, which can have drastic impacts on child development because you're not
Mhm.
interacting with them. They get confused at first and then causes even more issues with development. So,
Mhm.
this is something I always try to correct Austin and I on. And I feel like sometimes it can be a form of tension because I'm like trying to correct us
Yeah.
to be interactive, where Austin gets annoyed and thinks I'm just like trying to tell him to get off his phone. But I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but if you, well, I'm not going to explain it, but
Yeah, right, right. And it's hard because I feel like this might not be true for all families and it's not necessarily true for mine all the time, but I feel like in the podcast definitely helps, but I am digging into these issues like still face and other things more than Rob may be. So then sometimes when I do try to correct or be like, hey, this could be not good for development, like it feels like a slap on the hand to him, like he's not a good dad, he doesn't know what he's doing, and that's just not the case. It's just like I feel like we're sitting here kind of talking about this stuff all the time, that you want to bring that to your partner, and it just can be hard to do sometimes.
hmm yeah, yeah, because, and I don't know why, but men always think, and not all men, I guess I should say, but they always feel like we're like attacking the way that they do something or the
Yeah.
way, and I'm just like, no, no, I'm just trying to make sure we're like doing the same thing or we're
Yes.
reacting the same way. Like, I don't want to control how you do it.
No, exactly. Yeah, I know, I get to that too, and sometimes I try to preface when I start these conversations, I'm like, you can do it however you want, but like this is what I've been researching. But even then, sometimes it's like, why'd you say that I could do what I want? I'm like, I don't know how to frame this. I don't know how to talk.
Oh gosh.
Oh man. Okay, well, let's dig into some of the impacts of still face on child development. We'll start with emotional and social effects, how it affects them emotionally and socially. So, for emotional and social effects, repeated instances of unresponsiveness can affect a child's ability to develop that secure attachment. So, they're learning that they cannot always trust the caregiver to meet their needs because they're kind of bidding, right? They're bidding with the coos and the talking, and they want to get you to respond to it, and they're not getting that. So, they may struggle with self esteem, emotional regulation. They may grow up with a heightened anxiety, and a reduced ability to trust other people or difficulty forming relationships. Now, these are very extreme, and there's probably a lot of other things that play into this, but still face and not providing them with that responsiveness could lead to some of these things, which is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy how much we impact our children, like
Yeah.
scarily. So babies learn from social cues. So they learn by watching and interacting with their caregivers. So without that emotional feedback, like mirroring, smiling, having those comforting gestures, they miss out on learning essential social skills like empathy or emotional regulation or recognition and social reciprocity. So if you're not smiling back when they smile, they may learn to just not really understand those social cues as they get older.
Which is like scary to think about because when people don't have like those social skills, you're like, oh, okay, maybe this person's just like socially awkward or just doesn't get it,
Mhm.
or just doesn't know how to react in a social environment. And it really, is probably an impact of their parents and how they grew up
Yeah.
and the environment they were in. I
Mhm.
think this really came to light recently, and I think me and the twins have been able to talk about it. Just like, and it's more so not, this is not a negative thing or a way that we are, I guess, upset or something we're upset about.
Mhm.
We're just, it's more of a, oh, I'm noticing this. And it's,
Yeah.
I'm noticing the differences in the way that we were raised, in the way that our spouses were raised,
Mhm.
and just noticing the different reactions and skills that you have when you do have a child, or even when you don't have a child and you're just like with each other. You just
Mhm.
start to see like the different ways that people were
Yeah.
raised and grow up, and not like saying that any of these things were
Right.
of them, but it's so interesting how the way that you are raised can affect
Mhm.
you in the future as an adult too.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like just looking at, and I think Rob and I had a very similar upbringing in a lot of ways, but a lot of different family baggage that I think affected us. It's just it is very interesting how that has affected. And it's like going through personal individual therapy really brings a lot of that up because sometimes I look back at my childhood as like butterflies, flowers, like it was the best thing. Like I'm very happy for who my parents are and how I was raised, but it is very interesting to kind of unpack some things when you're like sitting there like I'm this way and you're like whoa 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 like it could have been because of this piece of how I was raised. It's very interesting to kind of unpack all that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like for me specifically, I always looked at the differences in terms of like people that had parents that were still together and people that had divorced parents. Like I felt
Mhm.
like people that had divorced parents just kind of like got how I felt a little bit more,
Mhm.
but I
Yeah.
also had parents that were very um like very cordial, and like there was no resentment or anything there, which I think is a very different environment than if parents aren't like
Yeah.
getting along. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
interesting.
just another thing I was thinking about.
Yeah.
But this can also have an impact on cognitive and behavioral development. So, babies are naturally curious, and this curiosity is often driven by a sense of security that their caregivers provide. So, if a baby doesn't feel safe, for example, due to lack of responsiveness from their parent or caregiver, they may explore less or have a harder time learning because they are too focused on getting the caregiver's attention, and too focused on making them proud or interacting with
Mhm.
them. Early speech development relies on interactive serve and return communication with caregivers. So when a baby coos, babbles, or gestures, they expect some kind of response. And without this back and forth interaction, language development may be slow as the child misses out on those crucial language practice and feedback. Another one can be emotional feedback from caregivers, helps children build resilience and persistence in the face of small challenges. So, for example, if a child encounters a toy that they can't reach and a caregiver encourages them, it teaches persistence and problem solving. Without that encouragement, children might give up sooner or struggle with learning persistence. And this was something that like I I was at my friend's house this weekend, and I don't even know how to like phrase this, but and we were both with our toddlers, and then she has a newborn. And like kind of the way that the living room is set up, there's like a coffee table in a very small space, and both Axel and Hudson were trying to like ride cars in between this small
Mhm.
space. And she made a comment that just like hit me, and I didn't even think about it in terms of how I interact with Axel. She's like, because Hudson was trying to like get the car through a very small space. There was something already blocking him, and
Yeah.
like he would have had to like back up and like try to get out, and like it would have been a whole thing instead of just moving the thing so he can go through. She's like, "Yeah, I just sometimes let him figure it out because now that I have two kids, I don't have time to like go and be moving obstacles out of the way for him,
Mhm.
and I'd rather him figure it out than, me always be removing the obstacles or whatever. And it was just something very interesting because it taught him how to problem solve
Yeah.
and figure it out on his own. And I feel like I do a lot of encouraging for Axel, like, you got it, you can do it. And I let him try to explore it on his own until he's at a point where he physically can or he needs help.
Yeah.
And then I intervene. But I'm
Mhm.
almost never looked at it with that lens,
Yeah.
like he'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think our presence there, and I think the key here, it isn't like solving their problems for them, like being so in tune and present for your child that you see them running into a barrier and you're going to like fix it for them, but like being able to sit there and maybe watch them do it. And then if you see them get frustrated, that's when you're kind of intervening and you're saying, what are ways we could do this or we could move that, and then kind of encouraging and doing it with them. But I think we do have to give them that opportunity to solve problems on their own. I really like that. Something that came to mind talking about the resilience and persistence in the face of challenges is like we have some Melissa and Doug puzzles where it's just like those peg puzzles.
Hmm.
One's a farm and one's like music, and she's really good at them. She's pretty good, but they aren't always the easiest to get in. They're a little complicated shapes, so it's not just like, oh, circle. And so she will start putting it in, and like me sitting there with her, and my encouragement is she'll start putting it in, she can't do it, and she says, Mama, do it. And I said, no, you almost got it, you just gotta, like take it and spin it a little bit. So then she'll spin it. So it's kind of like providing some of that guidance and providing her ways to solve the problem that she might not have thought of at that time. So now when she sits down and does the puzzle next time, she isn't immediately like, you do it now that you can't get it in,
Yeah.
And so that presence with them and just being there to respond because I'm not on my phone. Like there are times when I'm downstairs playing with her where I get a message or an email and I'm looking at it and I'm completely missing anything that's happening in front of me, regardless whether she like needed my attention or not. Now of course we're never going to give our children 100% of attention, and we are going to miss some of those cues. But I think at least for me, what I'm trying to do is be intentional about the amount of distraction I'm giving myself when I have time with her, because I don't
Hmm.
have as much time with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 And it's hard too because those distractions can come up where you tend to seem unresponsive, but it's just like, oh, I'm emptying the dishwasher, or
Hmm.
oh, I'm just like trying to get this done so that I can spend time with you before you go to bed, or
Right.
something like that. And yeah, so we've kind of had to shift a lot of our things that we get done just because right now we're both working, and it's,
Yeah.
when we do get home, we're like eating dinner and being with each other and then putting him to bed, and then we like deal with the dishes and everything after.
Hmm.
So,
But even like what this makes me think of is obviously there's things as adults we need to do when our children are around, like dishes and laundry and just things need to get done. But like think about it as like stacking, right? Like if you have to do all those things just to survive on the natural like day to day, if you're also not giving them attention during those periods, which is totally normal. But now you're also adding in all this phone and TV use where you're also
mhm.
disengaged, like stacking all of that on top of each other. Like, when is the moment for your child? Like, are we giving our children that attention that they need? And yeah, this is something as Eleanor's probably exited the infant stage. Because again, during that period, I mean, obviously the coos and all of that's really, I don't want to say that it's not important during that time. They're just a little less engaging.
Yeah.
But once they start becoming more engaging, like this is something I've been like very, very intentional about. And there's just been periods where fell off, like
Mhm.
phones are so addicting. Like I've just fallen off so many times.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah,
like, okay.
and that's okay because
Hmm.
it's life. But
Hmm.
when these things do happen, like if I'm like, it's like a weekend and it's
Hmm.
me and him, I try to incorporate him in what I'm doing. So his chore is feeding the cats. So now he feeds the
Yeah.
cats every day.
Aw, that's
And
cute.
then he presses the start button on the dryer and washer. He like
Mhm.
gets afraid to move the stuff
Oh.
from the washer and dryer. And then he closes the dishwasher for us or takes it out if it's like clean. So he's
Mhm.
like that's what I just like read somewhere like so, that they want to just help and he's
Yeah.
so into helping. And so every time
Mhm.
there's something to throw away, I give it to him to throw away and
Yeah.
so that's kind of just how I'm
Yeah,
surviving
we do that too.
when it's
We
just
do
me.
that too. It's, it makes it slower for us, but I think
Mhm.
it is good for them. Yeah, we do that same thing. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So we do wanna talk about ways that we could try to avoid that still face in this fast-paced world we live in this, like, phone addicted, TV addicted, just entertainment world we live in. And one way to do this, and this is a tactic I try to use often, is just having that focused playtime. So this is the time that's me and Eleanor were setting aside like a no distraction time to fully engage. Like usually when I get off work, this is my time with Eleanor. Like, and then obviously some people have less time to give to their children than others that there's no distraction, but honestly I would say if you're giving them like 30 minutes at least uninterrupted time, like that is good to like build that engagement. So we definitely do that in our household, or at least I try to do that for myself.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's at the end of the day and I get like 10 minutes in, I'm doing 10 minutes of it. So,
Yeah. Even
um,
if it's just a bedtime routine where you're like sitting and reading them a book and you're just engaged in that whole process, that's good too.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. You can also practice facial engagement. So you want to maintain expressions, eye contact, and verbal responses, especially during your routines, eating, bath time, bedtime. We've, as a family, and it all depends on literally Austin's schedule now, but
Hmm.
sometimes Axel will eat dinner at like 5:30 and sometimes he'll eat with us. Even if he does eat at 5:30 and then we eat before he goes to bed, we still bring him to the table and like eat with us and then we don't use our phones
Yeah.
unless we're like showing each other something or showing him something, Axel. So we've set up that way to still like engage at those
Hmm.
times.
Yeah, that's a good practicing for us too. Like I try to make mealtime, bath time, bedtime, like these are no distraction times essentially where I'm not going to pick up my phone. This is time I'm like spending with my family. So it is giving me that practice because in other moments, I don't know what it is. It's just like, oh my God, I haven't touched my phone in 5 minutes. And then it's like in my face. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
like really giving that practice. Yeah, for sure.
Or even like I put him down for a nap and I pick up my phone and then I'm like scrolling and I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
how did I even get here? Like,
I know.
like I just picked it up for 5 minutes.
I hate it so much. Another technique is just mindfulness technique. So, if you're somebody that could benefit from this, so introducing simple ways for parents and caregivers to remain present. So, mindfulness is a huge way where people learn those techniques. So, the breathing, and, um, when you're super stressed, people use mindfulness to kind of come back into themselves. Mental affirmations. And these are just really techniques to help us stay present and engaged. I've never been good at mindfulness. I've tried. I have subscribed to Calm on and off throughout like my 20s and 30s so many times. But this is definitely a good technique to get yourself more present if you're somebody that does kind of struggle to focus on things.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you hear my cat in the background. But I've also done this in terms of like my like Bible studying or like
Mhm,
reading in the morning, like having that time and just trying to get rid of any other distractions and even if it's just like writing whatever's on my mind
mhm,
into a notebook, that's a way that I've done that. I also wanted to touch on like an emotional response that
mhm,
we can give to the child. And I was just thinking about this because and again, I don't even know where I read or see these things. I just see them and then I remember them and then I'm like, so basically when they're having a tantrum, like a way to eliminate that like reaction is to not engage or engage with them when they're doing something you don't want them to do, which would align with this episode and what we're talking about. And so when I like if he's having a meltdown and a breakdown, then sometimes I ignore him. But
Mhm,
if there is also a way that you can address the emotional piece of it and be present for that emotional piece, like okay, they have emotions and they want to be held and they don't know how to do
mhm,
their emotions or what to do with them. So that's also like a way that I try to do it. Like I'll hold him like, oh yes, it's
mhm,
very frustrating that you can't, do whatever, blah blah. And then I'll give him a little bit of attention and then I will kind of like, okay, we're going to move on now, like we're going to move into something else, like,
mhm.
so like we get away from the tantrum and the distraction and I ignore also the tantrum feedback. So
Right, you're
I,
doing the
I was just,
regulating work, yeah.
yeah, 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 like try to like include emotions because I
Mhm,
have noticed with Axel, if he like pinches his finger or scratches his finger, falls down, like, okay, 9 times out of 10, he doesn't ever cry unless
mhm,
he's really in pain. But he started to like stick his finger up to me, to my mouth to kiss because he pinched it. Right. So
mhm.
he knows that that's my emotional reaction
Yeah,
that I'm giving to him. So that's another way that I've tried to give emotional reactions to
yeah.
avoid still face, if that makes
Mhm.
any sense.
Yeah, yeah, I think it does. It's you're giving him that like emotional regulation, emotional input, but you're not necessarily like affirming the behavior he's having in that moment. But imagine if he was acting up, like having some type of meltdown, maybe he hurt himself, and you just like completely gave him nothing. That would probably
Hmm.
lead to more meltdown.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, poor babies. I
I
couldn't
know.
imagine.
I couldn't either. Another thing I kind of just thought of is I feel like you probably can avoid that still face. Also, like another technique would just be having a routine. This helps for me. I know the times that I'm with Eleanor, I know the times that I'm not, and I can have my free time and I can, you know, shop on Amazon or whatever I really want to do in that moment when I'm sitting with her. But having that routine really works because I'm like, okay, I know she's going to bed in a half hour. Like I can throw out my phone then. Or I know
Hmm.
where it's mealtime, so we're going to have no distraction. So I think that helps. And then also, I think we've mentioned this in past episodes, but really, like if you have major distractions and you can't find yourself being able to stop picking up your phone so much, delete those apps off your phone. Or
Or
put your
leave your
phone
phone
in
in
a different
another room.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Gee.
just
Yep.
remove that distraction as much as you can.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to remove the distractions too. But like, and
It
I
is.
think it's even worse, like, because I try so hard not to do it while he's awake. And then, like, at the end of the night, it's just like, I'm
Hmm.
like sucked in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
And the thing is, yeah, once I get me time, I'm like, just on my phone. I'll put the TV. I don't even watch TV half the time. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
it's so bad. Ugh. But
But I think that covers it for our episode on still face. I think this was a very interesting episode just on like the studies that were done, the impacts this can have on your child, their behavioral and cognitive development, and then also like ways to avoid this. I think it's just a thing that we have to deal with now because there's a lot less of intentional time and everything is so electronic and media
mhm.
focused and just the way of life now. So you have to be a lot more intentional about it. But yeah, should we go into our mom eras?
Yeah, let's do it. What era are you in?
So I am in like my playroom mom era.
Ooh.
So we are at the point where the baby boy's room is kind of like, you know, renovated and I still have like stuff I want to do. But I'm also thinking of Christmas and Axel's birthday coming up and like what I want to get in place for the winter just because
Hmm.
Austin's a very creative person, but he just doesn't think outside of the box sometimes. So I feel like if I set him and Axel up for success to like have different rotations and things to do, that will work out very well. So
Mhm.
I was staring at my basement the other day, and I want to make this like whole huge section, like basically like a playroom slash
Ooh,
learning
nice.
area,
Yeah.
which honestly, my basement is so huge I could have like a in-home daycare if I really wanted to. Maybe one
Yeah.
day.
Your basement
Uh,
is nice.
yeah. So that's going to come with a lot of like organizing and things I want to do. But while I'm waiting on what I need for the baby boy's room, I might start down on the playroom.
Yeah.
And yeah, so at least right now I would just be cleaning it out and figuring out what we're doing with all these couches and getting rid of things that we don't need. And then once Christmas and his birthday come around, we'll have items to fill up the space. So
Oh, I love that. I'm so jealous.
yeah.
I wish I had a basement or playroom area.
Well, and we have everything in the living room, right? And I know you
Mhm.
have this in like your family room, like all the toys, which is like nice, but like that's the main area where we hang out. So if we're not hanging out there and I put toys in his room, he's not going to go play in his room because he's going to want
Right.
to be in the living room where we're hanging
Mhm.
out. So I want to make it more of a play hangout area in the basement
Right.
so we have two areas to go to. And I can put like the roller coaster down here and the basketball net in the
Mhm.
winter, and then those can also go outside in the summer.
Yeah.
So,
It's just very overstimulating to have everything all in one area. Like that's how I feel. Like I love
mhm.
that we are a family room family where we're playing in a space we're all together versus her playing in her bedroom and that's where her toys are. Like I like that we have these communal family spaces, but it just gets so overwhelming and it's not like we could have like a big toy up there,
Yeah,
or else
no.
it takes up the full space. So yeah, I would love, that's my dream, is to have like a nice basement to have like a second hangout area.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, this is what I really wanted. I wanted like a finished basement and stuff like that, but I
Mhm.
just haven't, like, I've taken advantage of it and not used it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah.
like, it's just become the dumping ground right now. So, I think
That's
once we start
exciting.
utilizing it, it'll make me happy.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be good. I'm jealous. You'll have to keep me updated on what you do. I
Yeah.
see playrooms on TikTok all the time. I'm like, oh, my dream.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also a lot of work to like set it up and like
Hmm.
clean it up. And like, I've just accepted that toys are just going to be out all the time.
Yeah, you'll get there. It'll be slow, but you'll get there.
Yeah. What mom era are you in?
So I talked about this last episode, but I'm still kind of in the organizing nesting, like hardcore. Like this week, actually today I sold our coffee table on Facebook Marketplace. So I got a nice $100 there, which I'm excited about. And so that's something we've like had in the corner of the room that we just kind of stacked books on, and it just was a mess. And I'm like, I don't know the next time we're going to pull out a coffee table. It might be 5 or 6 years with two kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I'm just going to get rid of it. We can revisit that when the time comes. And so I bought just like a cheap bookshelf. And so we have a whole bunch of our books downstairs because it's where we read mostly. We used to read in a room a lot, but we don't anymore. So it's just kind of just making my space. I don't know what it is lately. I don't know if it's just like this nesting phase that I'm in, but I just am like, wanting my spaces to feel less cluttered and more comfortable. So I'm just keep working through that. And you still need to figure out where all these toys are going to go that I'm like rotating out. And then I want to clean out the closet downstairs. I'm thinking maybe I can put some in there. So I just like I'm
Yeah.
constantly like do what am I going to get done? So this has just been my main focus.
Oh my gosh, I did a bunch of that too last week. You're gonna laugh at me. So you know how you have like your tongs, your spoon, like
Yeah,
all the stuff
yeah.
you cook with, right? The
Uh-huh.
big utensils. Well, when we moved in, I just had this like cabinet that was like just an empty space in a weird space. So I just threw them all in there. But you couldn't close the cabinet because they're too long.
Yeah.
And so they were just like in there, like hidden behind the fridge. And I was like, this is just temporary, Austin. It's fine. Like I just needed somewhere to put them.
Mhm.
And so I moved those into the drawer where like the washcloths were.
Mhm.
And I moved the washcloths with the hand towels and like combined them. and I'm so happy. Like, it's so much more functional.
Yeah.
So, like,
I did.
I am, like, focused on making everything, like,
Mhm.
functional. Like, that's
Yes.
going to be efficient and functional for me and my family.
Yes. I feel the same exact way. Like we have this cabinet that was literally just full of junk. We never opened it. We never put anything in it. It was just like I had a juicer in there. So now we're trying to figure out if we just want to get rid of the juicer. I'm just trying to purge things. Like we have things we
Mhm.
just don't use. You know what I mean? That I got maybe in my 20s or I don't even know. And so I was like, I would really love for Eleanor to be able to put like her learning toys or like we have coloring, we have paint in there, we have her Play-Doh in there. So it's kind of like her craft slash, workbooks type of situation. And it's
Mhm.
just like this is what I want. I'm like, this is just beautiful. And so I cleaned all that out. So yeah, I'm the same way. I'm just like things when we moved in, like worked, but I feel like isn't as effective or efficient anymore. So we're just trying to like whoop. Or I am at
Yeah.
least. I don't think Rob cares.
Yeah. And it's so weird because that's all I have like, eliminating and making it functional is, like, all I can think about. Where,
Isn't
like,
that funny?
before, like, with Axel, I just wanted to make everything pretty, like, I wanted it redo.
Yes. Yeah.
So weird.
I know. It's a
Like,
change.
I don't even care about making the whole bedroom, like, nursery, like, super
Mhm.
fancy. Like, I literally I put the dresser in there that's gonna get attached to the wall. I have books, and then Axel's gonna get a floor bed, and
Mhm.
because 'cause I'm not gonna put anything else in there because I don't want him to get into anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you all for joining us on the Mom Era podcast. Obviously, we could just keep chatting all day long, but we're going to cut it off now. So,
Mhm.
we hope this episode was very helpful just in understanding the impact of still face and how it can have childhood development concerns for you and your children. So, just something to be aware of and our experiences with it because it is hard in today's fast paced world. Follow us at momera_podcast at TikTok and I was going to say at Gmail, but on TikTok and Instagram. And you can email us at momerapodcast@gmail.com. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.